The players are on their way as well. Sri Lanka have had their huddle. They're making their way back to the middle, and the game really is in the balance, and the series is in the balance. England 200 runs behind with 6 wickets in hand. Butler and Root calmed things down after the loss of 2 early wickets. Bairstow out for 28 and Lawrence for 3. There was a mis-stumping in Lawrence's innings as well, and Embledenia has taken all 4 wickets so far. Some other cricket being played around the world at the moment. Ireland are playing a one-day international against Afghanistan, and they are 76 for 2 with 16 overs bowled there. That's in the UAE. And I noticed also something remarkable has happened in the Big Bash. Adam Milne of New Zealand, bowler, bowling for Sydney Thunder against Adelaide Strikers, has bowled a spell of 4 overs, 1 for 6, which takes some doing, especially in a score of 159 for 6. I mean, that's an incredible effort from him.
20 dot balls.
That is amazing. Also, other news as well. We've had some brownies delivered. Helen Dapri, thank you very much indeed. She said she was making some for her mum's birthday while listening to the cricket, so she'd send some in for us as well. She works for Match of the Day too. She's a producer here at the BBC. She said, I thought I'd send you and your team some to help you with. We're still the final early morning. She must have been made them on the last day of the last test match. But I mean,
I've been there a while.
I've had some.
Well, we need them, Simon. There's no canteen.
No, there's not. No, not
bring
weekend.
I've got a few prawns this morning. I've got a little bit of called a Lunchable. I've had my boiled eggs, but no, the canteen's only open midweek. Bring a packed lunch. Rely on people sending in brownies like that, which is lovely.
You must have one, Michael. They are absolutely delicious. Actually, there's only one left. How has that happened?
Well, you've eaten them. That's what's happened.
Well, no, there were more left than that when I came in this morning.
I think Mr. Tim Peach.
One of our producers. That's the reason he came up to see us at breakfast.
Correct.
Lunchtime.
He was trying to pretend he was being, all professional, asking us to do one or two, and then he's nicked 3 or 4 chocolate brownies. I must admit, I'm missing my poached eggs from upstairs in the canteen. They're lovely.
Yes.
Be back tomorrow though, won't they, on Monday?
Is it Monday tomorrow?
Monday tomorrow. Saturday,
Monday,
Sunday, you have to bring your own.
And we're going for all 5 days, I think. That's the way of it. You'd imagine, even if England were made to follow on, well, at least if they could enforce the follow on, Sri Lanka, I'm sure they would bat again. Unless we had some rain, of course, and there was a race against time. There's bags of time left in the match, and Sri Lanka want that 5th day pitch, really. That's all looming for England, it feels, a 5th day pitch, and the prospect of doing something, either trying to save the game or potentially win it. We'll see how things go. A big afternoon ahead. Here's Embledenia bowling, and Root stretches forward and gets a thick inside edge on that. It goes to short fine leg, and there is no run.
Yeah, just a slip in place. So just going to try and bowl a few dot balls if they can. He's been hit around the park a bit, even though he's got a couple of wickets. And Mandela, he's been travelling today.
4 for 72 in his 21st over. He goes in now and bowls to Root. He's right back into his crease. That back foot must be so close to the off stump.
You just look at the game situation. I mean, England 200 behind, 6 wickets in the tank in the first innings. They can't afford one of those really bad sessions at all. If they have one really bad session in this test match, they've lost.
Here is Embledenia bowling to Root, who plays that drag sweep well in front of square out towards deep mid-wicket. Fielder runs round. Asita Fernando to his left-hand side. Root jogs back for a second, and so does Butler. And that brings up the 50 partnership. 51 from 87 balls. And it's a shot we've seen so much from Joe Root, reaching out well in front of his front pad, which is a long way down the pitch as it is. Really reaching for the sweep shot and hitting it out towards deep mid-wicket. Takes Root to 107. You feel if England are to get something out of this game, Root's got to go really big here. I mean, there are others to come, of course, Butler and Curran and Best, but Butler's playing nicely, but not easy for the lower order who haven't had much time in the middle. 183 for 4, especially against a ball that is spinning more as the game goes on. Embledenia bowls. Root gets a very full ball. She nudges, tip and run into the onside.
Just on that straight sweep that Joe Root plays, he's played it a few times to the left arm spinner. And again, in cricket, you've got to think out the box. And I think Sri Lanka have set fields that are almost orthodox fields for spinners, whereas they've got to realise that Jarrett's hitting the ball in different areas, and he's hit that ball straight at mid-wicket on a number of occasions. Put a man there. Don't have him conventionally, a kind of mid-wicket, kind of square of the wicket like you usually do, because he hasn't hit many there to M&W square of the wicket. He's hit the orthodox sweep, which goes behind square on the leg side, but he's hit that straight sweep shot, so just put a fielder there.
Yeah, make him think.
Or make him do something different.
Yeah. Butler manages to get that away fine. Not quite sure how he did that. Down towards the fine leg boundary. It won't be 4. It's tricking down towards the rope. Perhaps there was a bit of pad involved as well. If it had come straight off the bat, then it would have gone a bit quicker. And they come back for 3. 187 for 4. Butler to 33.
Yeah, just a bit more on the big bash. Alex Hales has just got out. Peter Siddle's just found the outside edge. He got 10 today, Alex Hales.
He made that brilliant 100 the other day. Yeah, but actually Butler squeezed that between his pads. That's how he managed to get that down. What do they call that? The nutmeg?
Nutmeg? Nutmeg?
Yeah. No, nutmeg, after Nat Siver.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah.
I've not heard that.
187 for 4. Root on 108. He comes forward there and plays that defence. There's an appeal for LBW there. Were they looking at pad before bat? I'm not quite sure, but I think it was inside edge. And then onto the pad and then into the onside, and there's no run. You can follow the Big Bash scores today on the BBC Sport website, and we'll bring you the knockout stages later in the week. They start on the 29th of January, and we'll bring you all those games. There are 5 knockout matches, including the final, in the next week or so.
You'll be doing those time,
I'm doing some of them, yeah.
You and Henry Moran?
I'm not sure what the rota is. I haven't had a look at it. I just know the games I'm doing.
I had you on a few times on my morning kind of strolls around, either in the car or on my... I'm trying to walk 10 kilometres a day.
Are you?
Yeah, it's kind of my little goal for January. Walk 10 kilometres, listen to a podcast or a game. If I'm out there early in the morning, I always have your dulcet tones in my ear, just listening.
Not running then?
No, I don't run. My knees are knackered.
Right,
I have to walk. I go on a bike to do that kind of... To get the heart rate really up, I go on a little spin bike. But I like to do my 10K. It's a bit cold yesterday afternoon. I was tired. I got back, I was knackered. Had a cheeky hour.
Are you allowed to do that in the middle of the day?
Yeah.
No chores to do?
No, it's Saturday. It was okay.
So no chores on a Saturday?
No chores Saturday. It's no, I think even my wife felt a little bit sorry for me. That she's even having a slight bit of sympathy for us getting up at 3 o'clock to drive in and cover the cricket, even though it's great.
Well, it's been a good test match, this. It's got the prospect of more intrigue to come. It's going to be Lakmal to bowl. He's bowled 9 overs for 16 so far. It's been steady.
What do you reckon Ramesh Mendes is thinking?
I don't know.
Got 2 overs 0 for 19 on debut. Got 0 as well with the bat.
Here is Lakmal bowling to Butler on his pads, turned away towards Shado Fernando, dives away to his right at forward square leg, and there's no run. I remember Victor saying something about playing his first test match. Vic Marks saying, "Oh, the thing that struck me is it was such a long game. You know, you get out early on in the match, and you have to wait an awfully long time to bat. And if he was playing Headingley, so the seamers must have been bowling quite a lot. And you wait a long time for your bowl, and it's like 3 days between innings. So if you do have a failure, as Mendes did, a long wait for he might not get another bat in the game, and he's not been given much chance with the ball so far. Lakmal bowls and Butler plays defensively to a short mid-on, or silly mid-on that's been placed by Saranga Lakmal.
Yeah, it's going to go stump to stump. Got quite a heavy leg side field. Just a little bit of tail back into Joss Butler, nothing drastic, but clearly they're going to try and get him kind of either flicking it on that onside, probably vary his pace slightly, the odd cutter. We'll try and get him playing across the line of the ball, LBW. The tempo as well is a lot slower than your first class game. It just seems that an over takes forever.
Lakmal bowls to Butler. Butler nudges it into the leg side to square leg. Of course, the other thing as well, in Victor's day, they were playing 3-day championship matches.
Yeah.
So you can understand, the game would have moved quicker, and you'd have had 2 innings far closer together.
Yeah, like my second team cricket at Yorkshire was obviously 3-day cricket, and first couple of sessions pretty much play it normal. But then after tea on day one, generally the team batting is thinking about, well, we're going to have 8 overs, 10 overs tonight.
Yeah.
So they kind of get on with it, and then you bat normally for a couple of sessions. Then it's about a declaration, and you might lob a few up, and then pretty much the third day generally is a one-day game.
Yeah. 187 for 4. Lackmal bowls. Butler is forward, half forward, playing that towards short mid on, and there is no run. And of course, it was changed because the powers that be thought that it just wasn't close enough to Test match cricket, and it wasn't great preparation, even though of course it had been like that for decades and decades. But as time went on, when was the first 4-day game brought in the championship? I would say
Zoltz will know that.
Yeah, late 80s, early 90s, something like that. Late 80s, early 90s.
Yes, about 87 or 88, I think.
Yeah. Here's Lackmal going into bowl outside the off stump. Butler dries, doesn't really time it, goes bobbling up towards mid off, and there is no run. Because to start with, there was that combination, wasn't it? He played some 3-day games and some 4-day games.
Yeah, mixed it up a bit. No, it was the right decision. Just looking at Lackmal's food, we're talking to Jimmy Anderson. With his 6th for Lackmal's not got any wickets, but he's only gone for 16, and this is his last ball of his 10th over. You think the ball's doing nothing really for the seamers. It's obviously quite difficult for the batters to kind of score off the seamer if they bowl anything like.
Lackmal back in the side for this match, bowls, and Butler gets a ball on off stump, which he defends up towards mid off, and there's no run. It's a bit of a stalemate when the seamers are on. He's bowling in the channel, and England, okay, the bad ball comes along, they put it away, but there haven't been many. They've just been nudging it around or defending, and there's just stick in really, see where it takes them. 187 for 4. They're 194 runs behind, and we're past lunch on the third day. I'm just thinking ahead here. I mean, England's first task is to get up around Sri Lanka's score and see where they are. If they fall short, if they're 80 short, then say Sri Lanka can push on and
real
set
problems.
Something on the last day.
Yeah, real problems if they're 80 short. They've got to get as close as they can. Got to be parity or as near as. It's like you would feel this partnership to grow a little bit more than it is already.
Here is Embledenia bowling to Root. Root is right forward, bat and pad close together, head over it, playing into the offside.
I always look at our Zoom screens to see the activity around the country, and the TMS branch around this time down at the Oval generally has a brown bag delivered.
Embledenia to Root right back into his stumps. Slightly quicker delivery from Embledenia, although it's 54 miles an hour. It looked as though it was a bit quicker, but Root was in behind it, getting the bat down just in time.
But I think
flatter.
I think there's a breaking news down at the Oval that the brown bag's been replaced by what looks like a blue tray. So I think they've gone a little bit healthier.
Embledenia bowls, guided away by Root into the offside, to the left of extra cover, out towards the boundary. Root walks through for the single.
Or maybe not healthy.
109 to Root, 188 for 4.
So it's so it's a sausage plat that's been made by Alistair Cook. He can't make that. Someone's made that for him.
He was talking about it earlier, wasn't he?
Yeah, it looks very nice, but so the brown bag's not. It's gone. Well, there's no Tufnell in that box that I can see, so he's probably collecting it.
Embledenia bowls there to Butler, who cracks this off the back foot towards deep cover and takes a single. He jogs through as well. It's all very sedate out there when the spinners are being worked around. It goes out deep and the fielder's jogging through. It doesn't feel like sort of intense top level international sport, but there is a good battle going on out there.
Well, Dan's just let me know what Phil Tufnell's doing, as you would expect with his new fitness regime. He's walking the ground.
Is he?
Yeah, doing some laps, making sure he's nice and active, fit, getting the steps up.
He's going for it, isn't he?
Yeah, he is.
Dandelion tea and his weights delivered to his house. Root drives again into the offside, again into a big gap. It just feels a bit too easy at the moment for these two batsmen to work the ball around.
He's done well to get some weights. They're not easy to get, the weights for the house. They've been one of the... I was reading yesterday. Yeah, I was reading about some young guy last year who, I can't remember what business he was in. He suddenly changed and started to sell some kind of fitness kit online, and suddenly he's made all this money.
Yeah. Well, I suppose that's it. Adapting, isn't it?
Got to react, haven't you, Simon?
Absolutely, react.
Change
adapt.
your game.
Yeah.
One day you're going down the wicket, play straight. The next day you're sweeping.
Exactly. That's how Root's done it in this tour. Here's Butler bending at the knees, faces Embledenia, dead bats it into the offside, and there's no run. If you said to me of all the TMS team, who is the least likely, it's the end of the over, 58 overs gone, 194, who's the least likely to instigate a fitness regime? I think Tuffers might be up there quite high.
Yeah, I would say so.
Probably Daniel as well, although he claims he goes to the gym during the winter. We're not in the summer.
Zoltz is sticking his hand up. he's accepting that one. I don't know, Zoltz. There seems to be all sorts of people doing these kind of online fitness classes. I saw, was it Bez out there? Was it Happy Mondays? You know the Happy Mondays.
I've heard of them.
Of course, yeah. Bez, who used to do that dance, he's got his own fitness online kind of morning session that you can log into. These, I think he just does his dance and you just join in. Right. You don't know Bez? No? Come on, Simon. Stone Roses, do you know the Stone Roses?
Yeah. 190 before. England halfway there, just about 191 behind. So do you turn your zoom on and link up to anything?
I've watched it, but I haven't quite got into the groove of Bez's dancing classes in the morning.
Here's Lackmal beginning a new over. Bowls there to Root, brushes that away through backward square leg. Sri Lanka have so many fielders out that there are lots of gaps, so another single. Yeah, it's playing that patience game.
The very famous one, Joe Wicks, the body coach, he's done a tremendous job. I think it was the first, I can't remember which lockdown we've had that many. I think it was the first. I think it was the first one where he used to do a half an hour set for all kids every morning.
Yeah. Didn't he say he was absolutely shattered? He had to stop doing it.
I think he got injured. Right. I think his hamstring went. I think his wife had to take over on one occasion.
Not surprised. 191 for 4. Route to 111. Butler on 34, waits for Lackmal, who's in now and bowls, and Butler plays quietly up to Asik Fernando at mid-on. England lost the wickets today of Bairstow for 28 and Lawrence for 3, both to Embledenia, both fairly early on in the day. They were 132 for 4, and Butler and Root have rebuilt. Root's gone through to his 19th Test match 100 and 138 balls, which is actually in his, I think Andy's saying, his 7th quickest Test 100, which slightly surprised me, because that's a decent lick. That is 138 balls for a century in Test match cricket. 191 for 4 in the 59th over, so the new ball is still 20 odd overs away. Lackmal bowls. Butler gets a thickish outside edge to that defensive shot and wants a single into the offside. It's not there, goes far too close to cover, and Lackmal's continuing this steady line. Is giving away a couple of singles per over. That's just about the way of it, and not really threatening so far. So far we've had a situation where, of course, all the wickets in Sri Lanka's innings went to pace, and all the wickets in England's innings have gone to spin. To one bowler in particular, Dilrun Pereira, yet to join in, and Ramesh Mendis yet to join in as well. And he had a couple of overs. Lackmal moves in, Dick Weller goes down, and that's hit uppishly back past the ball. It's a miscue from Butler, he got away with it. Past Lackmal, and it's followed through up to mid-off, no run.
Well, I reckon this has just taken the first kind of explosion off the pitch for the seamer. It's a bit wider of off stump. Just watch this when it lands on the surface. Oh yeah.
Big puff. Big puff of dust there. It always looks worse in slow motion, but yeah, there was a minor explosion on the pitch there.
You play a bit of beach cricket, don't you? When suddenly the water, you go down by the water and you play, it's all right, it skids on, and suddenly it dries out and it spits on you. Always get caught short kind of extra, just in the ocean, just that fielding position. There's always a fielder there caught
out. Big winning the toss, I think, on this pitch. Butler guides that away into the offside. I mean, he's still perfectly okay for batting the pitch, but it's just harder than it was a couple of days ago. It was was not doing that on the first day. We saw quite a lot of puffs of dust early on in the first Test match in Gaul, but not early on in this game.
Well, it's the kind of pitch now, and it'll get more so over the next 2.5 days, that you just cannot switch off as a batsman. There are some pitches, I think on day one you could probably misjudge length, misjudge a bit of your mindset not quite right, and you get away with it. It's getting to the stage now that everything has to be perfect in your mind, in your technique. Still runs out there if you're willing to put the hard yards in.
Lackmell in to complete the over. Bowls to Butler. Butler defends again up towards mid-off, and there's no runs. That's the end of the over. Butler 34. Root is 111. England are 191 for 4. They are 190 runs behind. Bairstow 28, Lawrence 3. The men out to Embledenia today. A bit more from you, Michael, or we could just cross straight to Daniel Norcross.
There you go, down with the Brian Clough sweater on.
Yeah, I've got the full football kit on today. What with the sheepskin, the Brian Clough. It's the green, isn't it? That's 1970s European Cup campaign type thing.
Yes.
Yeah. Speaking of football, by the way, it is another huge day across the BBC Sport platform, especially with the FA Cup. 3 commentary games on 5 Live Sport from 10:30 a.m, including Chelsea against Luton.
What time? 10:30.
11:30.
Oh, 11. I thought 10:30.
No, 10:30 would be better. Footballers aren't as daft as they look sometimes, you know. They're not going to do anything at 11:30, at 10:30. And Everton are playing against your team.
Yes, that's
Sheffield
later
Wednesday.
tonight. I'm just hoping my eyes will still be alive and kicking at 8 o'clock tonight.
Oh, I mean, surely you'll just come springing back to life anyway, won't you?
Yes, absolutely.
Dilruan Pereira starts a new over. Well, he'd say that. He pretended to start a new over, and Root was ready, waiting for him, was in position, and Pereira didn't release the ball. I believe there's a bit of a mismatch as well, I think, later, isn't there, between Spurs and I think it's Monday, so a little bit of time for poor old Wickham fans to adjust to their fate.
Yes.
Now they're having I mean, did they get promoted a little bit beyond their means, really? Simon Mann's agreeing.
I've got to stay quiet because my team are only just above them.
Oh, as Root is is facing up and pushes back the wicket. There's no. I'm sorry. A large presence suddenly appeared in front of my TV screen, rendering it impossible to see briefly. But he's gone now. Root comes down the wicket, drives against Pereira, but straight to short extra cover. No run. There's a huge gap. Round from backward point to short extra cover for Root if he wants to dab the ball there, but tricky shot. The off-spinner turning it back into him. It's a forward short leg and a slip in. He sweeps a very straight ball straight to short fine leg, and there's no run.
Yeah, I've just the camera just panned into the nets, and Dom Sibley's out the back in the nets. Wants to be working with the coaches on something that he can bring to his game, his technique, particularly in the second innings, because he knows exactly what he's going to be facing.
His bat, I think, would be a start, as this ball is driven straight, mid-wicket dives, parries, and they get through for a single. 192 for 4, Root to 112 with that single.
When Pereira goes to bowl and then pulls out, I think it's the perfect chance for you to see how good the movement is of Joe Root, because he gets into that position, obviously he's thinking the ball's come. He's got the most beautiful kind of just little press forward that gives him a great neutral position.
Butler on strike, and he comes forward to a sharply turning ball that thuds into his pad and rolls out into the offside, leg by. It's rather elegantly signalled by umpire Dharmasena. 193 for 4.
And it's a great lesson for kids that can see that, because by neutral, I mean he's got his head over that front ped so he can go forward, you know, he can press forward again, he can get himself into a sweet shot. He's quite low, he's staring at the ball, and also he's in a lovely position that if it is slightly short, he can push back to get right back on the stumps.
He sweeps this ball from outside the off stump down to deep backward square leg. Lackmell is patrolling on the boundary there, and they get through for another run. Means Root will keep strike at the end of England's 60th over. He has 113, England 194 for 4.
Yeah, it's just he's a magnificent player of spin, and it's because of that he's just got such a simple technique that covers him for. I always think your technique's got to cover you when you kind of just don't quite get it right, you know. So when you kind of misjudge length, or you don't quite pick it out of the hand as well as you would like, your technique has to look after you on those occasions, and he's got the most glorious, perfect position to be able to cover himself. And he very rarely does get it wrong. He's staring at the ball so closely, but it's a real neutral, I'm going to describe it as a beautiful position that he gets himself in, to cover that front foot, to press forward, to then push back, goes onside, offside, because it's not just kind of crossing over to cover him, that you can only play on the offside or on the onside. Yeah, beautiful. That's how I'm just
Blackmail's going to.
Blackmail's beautiful as well.
It's beautiful to hear, Michael. Blackmail is in, and forward comes Root, defending late, back to the bowler, and there's no run. It's really starkly visible, isn't it, when you contrast with poor old Dom Sibley's travails, because the decisiveness of Root's foot movement, both going back and forward. And someone asked me on Twitter, said, is Embaldenia bowling an unusual number of half volleys? I said, I think actually Root's getting an unusually large stride in. So he makes these balls look like they're half volleys, and he gets all the way back. So he makes the bowler look like they're bowling shorter. When actually Embaldenia's had it mostly pretty much in the right place, it seems to me. Blackmail in, and that's tucked away off the legs to short square leg. There's no run. But because Root is so exaggerated in how far back he goes and how far forward he goes, makes it very difficult for the bowler, doesn't it? Because that good length is rather negated. Yeah,
and he very rarely, I've not seen him defend the ball to the left-arm spinner where he's playing across the ball. He's always getting access towards the ball, so his full face is going towards where the ball has come from. Where if you look at Zach Crawley and Dan Lawrence, they're playing across the ball, and that's why the outside edge was found on those occasions. Now he's a master against the spinning ball, as good as I've seen in an England Test match shirt.
Blackmail's in, right arm over the wicket, bowls a Yorker length delivery, lands right on the crease line, tailing in slightly. But Root, who's seeing it very well at the moment, was able just to jam down on the ball at the last minute. Didn't look flustered. And there's no run.
I see Phil's back from his...
he's been doing chin-ups. He's done circuit training mostly. So during the lunch break, he attempts to do 10 laps of the ground, and then he runs up and down the 3 flights of stairs 5 times, 20 press-ups, the last 10 with me standing on his back. And then some chin-ups. I can't really get him to do squat thrusts yet. We're going to sort of introduce that, I think, for day 5. Blackmail is in, and Root defends just very easily up to mid-on. There's no run. He's a finely tuned machine, is Philip. Puts me to shame. Has the fox reappeared? I've just been told by our resident agriculturalist the fox has reappeared here at the Oval. If you're joining us for the first time and are unaware, Phil Tuffle, Alistair Kirk, Henry Moran and myself are at the Oval, commentating from the Test match special box. And the match obviously has been played. It's been played at Gaul, but we have a friendly, it's a different fox. We've had a limping fox before. This one's a little bit more live. It leaves its deposits on the staircase which we go up to here at the Test match special box. Now, attempted pull from Root, who just pulls out of the pull before executing it through to the keeper. There's no run. Consternation here, Michael. Cookie's seen 2 foxes. You think a man who lived on a farm would have seen a lot of foxes, or maybe actually not, I don't know, but he's transfixed by them.
I had a fox run in front of me yesterday afternoon when I was out walking.
Oh yeah.
Yes. What time would that have been? About 2:30
in the afternoon.
Yes.
Rare to find a daylight fox.
Yes. Yes, he just ran across the road and just in front of us. That was a good delivery. I was kind of thinking, what could Sri Lanka do? And that is the one option against Joe Root that they haven't really. I know he's not rapid like but just getting the bounce. They've got square leg back, fine leg back. You never know.
He's in again, Fuller this time. A big appeal for LBW, but firstly, Dharmasena says height. I thought there might have been a little bit of bat on it, but Blackmail's not going to request the referral, and that's the end of. Was that a maiden over? Andy? It was 194 for 4. I've just said a little hair running. Root against Lackmel. He's not scoring many runs against Lackmel. I think he's played out a previous maiden from Lackmel, hasn't he?
Yeah. Go on, Andy.
Yes, he did. I mentioned that previous maiden in the 43rd over was only the second route had played out in the series so far from any bowler, and that's now the third. I've just got to correct a stat from this morning. In which I let myself down reading a table because I didn't put it through a computer first. Never trust a
full
human,
abject apology, please, Andy.
When a machine will do. England batsman scoring a double century followed by a century. I've missed the most recent one, Alistair Cook, of course, in Australia, 235 not out in the second innings at Brisbane in 2010, then 148 in the second test at Adelaide. Before that, Trescothick in 03, then Gooch and Gower.
How about a century and a 150? A double century and a 150 as reverse sweep to a full toss by Butler. He gets it fine, didn't really hit it very powerfully, and he'll just get the one run as Mbaldenia moves to his left to field at sort of third man. Moves to 35, Butler, England to 195 for 4.
The last player to score a double 100, then a 150 was Gower. Gooch had 154 against New Zealand, then 333. Gower in 85 against Australia, 215, then 157. Amos did it in the 1976 against
Wally Hammond.
Amos against West Indies and India in the 76 in 2 series. Hammond did 227 and 336 not out against New Zealand.
Thank you. Back into his crease goes Root and just pushes the ball into the ground. It's picked up by Dick Weller eventually, and there's no run. Pereira in the attack. Root on 113. It's a long way away from any of these more remarkable distinctions, but he's batting well, and England need him to, because they're definitely behind at the moment in this game. Pereira in. Oh, now he's gone for the reverse, and that's bounced off thigh pad into the gloves of Slip. But Phil Tufnell's with me. I think it's... Well, is it time for Phil? Is it Phil time? It is. We should let Michael go. I'm slightly concerned about it. Root hit that into the ground, and it was picked up at Slip, and you were going for the catch there.
Well,
we're going to have to talk about this ball being hit into the ground, malarkey. It's happened a lot in this series. As Root comes down the wicket and pushes the ball up to wide, long on for a single. 114, 196 for 4 England. Root 114, Butler 35. The partnership now worth 64.
Have we mentioned this amazing sunrise that is just happening in front of our eyes?
We haven't. The sky has a flaming orange hue to it, doesn't it?
It does. It's a beauty.
Do you know what it looks like?
It looks like London's on fire.
There's a bit of that, yeah. Do you know what it reminds me of? In the 70s, there used to be a lot of electric bar heaters that would have this lighting effect behind some plastic coal facade. And there would be a series of lights going on the background as Butler plays and misses at a ball that turns back into it, went onto the back foot, and he missed it. And just in the last 5 or 10 minutes, Root and Butler have lost a bit of fluency, and the Sri Lankan bowlers are getting a bit of purchase. That ball from Pereira has turned, has bounced. It's gone between bat and thigh.
Yeah, good
Beating
delivery.
the inside edge and bouncing sort of off various bits of Dick Weller as well. Reverse thwack from Butler, which is is definitely his go-to shot after anything doesn't quite come off, and he picks up 2 as it goes down to deep backward point. 198 for 4, Butler to 37.
Just heard Sir Alistair there. If in doubt, get the reverse sweep out. And if you're caught in 2 minds, it seems to be the go-to shot, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Just a good little reverse, a good little sort of change of rotation of the strike, and it, if anything, looks the kind of least
risky shot
to play on this.
Yes, we are seeing this marvellous sunset at the Oval. The lights are on under the sunset. Well, it's supposed to be up so long. I'm expecting it to go down.
Yes,
yeah,
that's right. Must admit,
sunrise.
I'm not usually up early enough to see too many sunrises, but that's a corker.
But you're loving it, aren't you?
I've
seen you connecting with nature a lot during this series.
Well, yeah, you're right. The foxes, there's a couple of foxes now, Cookie seeing there. I think there's a little family.
Well, you were out on the balcony yesterday, just sort of communing with the wide, empty expanse here.
I know. There's something very sort of transfixing about empty stadiums. Don't know what it is.
I think you're right. Lackmar starts a new over. He's into Root. Root works a full ball into the onside. And there's no run. JPK12 has got in touch.
Yeah.
So this is breeding time, October to January.
Oh.
So seeing foxes out in the day is not uncommon as they look for food for their young.
Oh, okay.
I thought it might be breeding time because they also make quite a distinctive noise.
Yes.
Which is a bit like sort of a bit like that. I was thinking like boop 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 boop. It's a sort of, you know,
like a lorry
Manchester
reversing.
Well, I was thinking more sort of night clubbing in the early 90s. But it's quite confusing, especially as you're getting into your car at sort of 3:30, 4 o'clock, and you can hear a lot of chatter going on from the foxes. 198 for 4. Lackmar in, worked into the onside, into a gap this time by Root off the front foot. There's a vacant mid-wicket and he'll get a single. Moves to 115. It's been an absolutely magnificent innings from Root. It's been a magnificent series. He's so far been out, 10th man out, trying to score quick runs to set up either a declaration or to get bowled out. Caught at deep mid-wicket. He's been run out because he called through for a daft single and
That's right.
it was bounced off the bowler. And other than that, I mean, I'd love to see his full shot percentage. Maybe Andy's got access to all that.
Not many. I haven't seen a full shot. I haven't seen a shot that's sort of got in the air or...
There was one LBW decision against him. Do you remember that he overturned on review and the ball was shown to be missing the stumps by a tiny fraction? I think off Embel Denier.
That's right.
Other than that, I can't think of alarms for Root, really.
No, perhaps the rest has done him good.
I wondered, actually. Butler faces and drives beautifully through the covers. It's a lovely, lovely shot from Butler. A bit of the Ian Bell to it. It's running up to the extra cover boundary where it's shepherded there by Matthews. Slightly weary looking Matthews. For 4, England moved to 203 for 4 to when Butler plays that extra cover drive. I do get a little attack of the vapours.
Well, it gives you a bit of time to think, probably, doesn't it? You know,
the time off.
Yeah, but
he's not been in bubbles, has he? You know?
Yeah, and to sort of recuperate and get that sort of thirst for the game back, perhaps a little bit. So it seems to have done him very well.
When he said he was able to work on his game in a way that you have so little time to do, especially if you're captain, because you've got so many press conferences to deal with, haven't you, and interviews.
What, in the front room? Front of the mirror?
Yeah, probably.
Get the whole full-length mirror out.
Yes. Well, that's what Steve Smith does, isn't it?
Yeah. Get the missus to throw you a few tennis balls.
That's right. Lackmar in, and Butler waits for this, defends, down into the ground, back to the square on the offside. There's no run. When he reaches 130, and his ultimate tells me, I've got a list of them all here, he will overtake KP into 5th place on the list, and if he gets 180, he'll go past David Gower. Then after that,
he's knocking them off.
There's only Stewart, Gooch and Cook, so 2 Essex men, 2 Surrey men and 2 Hampshire men between 3 people, because I'm giving KP, well, I suppose he's Notts as well, isn't he? Hampshire and Surrey and
There's
Notts.
a few actually.
Yeah. Gower's Leicestershire and Hampshire. Stewie is only Surrey.
Yes.
Gooch only Essex.
Yes.
Cook only Essex.
Of course. One man, one team man.
Yes.
Yeah.
The Ryan Giggses of cricket.
Yes, he's got a few in his sights, hasn't he? And a long time left.
A long way to go.
Hasn't he? What was he now?
Dare I say it? 30. Pushed into the offside by Butler, up to mid-off. There's no run. If you played for another 5, well, if you played for just 5 years, which is, I think, what, Alistair, you retired about 35, didn't you?
No.
33, he says, 33.
Oh, did he?
So if Root played for another 5 years...
33? Too early.
And if he went at round about... well, if he went at 900 runs a year...
Yeah.
He'd go past Cook. Do you think we'd get Alistair to come out of retirement or to defend his own record here? Because I'd say it's in danger. Jonathan Agnews reappeared in his attic while I speculate on how many runs there are yet to come for Root. And I think Andy Zaltzman has got his microphone, and Jonathan Agnew was finally changed into some clothes. Everything's going really well. I think I'll have to do this ball and then I'll hand over to you. It's the last ball of the 63rd over. A little break in play there as Lackmar's in to Butler on 41. He lets this go by through to the keeper. There is no run. 203 for 4. Root 115. He's calling for a drink. Butler 41. It'll be Andy Zaltzman, and then it will be a finally clad Jonathan Agnew.
Just quickly on the Root's full shot percentage on the CricViz data in this innings, just over 8%. In the first, put that in context, in the first test it was 5.9%, was the lowest full shot percentage he's had in any of his test hundreds. This is currently 6th on that list, so yes, it has been a secure innings. Aggers.
Indeed. Good afternoon, toughers as it were, in Sri Lanka at least, after lunch. Good morning, everybody. Lovely to have you all with us on a Sunday morning. Some horrible weather out there, so please be careful. Stay warm, stay dry, stay out of the snow if it's falling. Potential difficulty here, toughers. You'll appreciate this. It's dog breakfast time, and it hasn't happened yet, and Tino's arrived, so we've just got to be a bit careful. We're going to have a repeat of the other morning.
They're all scurrying around, are they?
Well, he's here anyway, so we'll try not to say anything that might set him off.
I haven't seen the boy for a long time.
He's just down here. Anyway, I just found it interesting talking about Gower actually in Hampshire, because I played with David all my career at Leicestershire. I remember he did move. He went to Hampshire for the 1990 season, and you know how you just get used to looking at cricketers, not least because of their sweaters, and it sort of forms part of the picture, doesn't it?
Yes.
You know, I'm used to seeing you in your Middlesex, where if you suddenly put a Yorkshire one on, it'd all look a bit odd. I remember him walking out to bat against us in his Hampshire sweater. I just thought, no, that's not right. Root drives his first ball from Pereira. Pereira fields off his own bowling. We go, whoa, that's not David.
I don't think I could have put another sweater on. You know?
No, I didn't either.
It was either Middlesex or no
nothing.
one for me. Yeah.
Root again. This time he's found the gap through mid-wicket, pushing it away out to the man coming in off the boundary. And they take 1 run. 204 for 4.
All different now, of course. People are out on loans.
Well, I know.
They just pop around and have a little game for them and have a game for this.
I mean, Peter Moore's son scored his first 100 for a county he didn't play for. It's all very odd, wasn't it? He was playing. I think he got loaned out to Lancashire. He scored his first class 100. Then he went back to where he normally plays at Nottinghamshire. Very odd. Now here's Butler playing forward. There's still a short leg there, and he picks the ball up. These two have really played very well indeed. A few little moments along the way, especially with Butler. There was the catch. We've got a big lizard, and that's the one that chased you.
It is.
I don't like the look of that. His tongue's sticking out,
and he's moving quickly.
He's after something. Now this is a sweep down to deep backward square leg. He's timed that well. A reverse sweep for 4. What a terrific shot! It was absolutely square. The man there was finer for that reverse sweep, where it generally goes, but Butler's simply hit it a bit squarer. Got a big smile on his face. And takes 4 more, 208 for 4. But no, toughers, you can go about your foxes down there at the Oval. I'm sorry, that trumps your fox.
It does indeed. Looked like the one that chased me round Sri Lanka.
It did, and it was the way his tongue was darting in and out. There he is, still on the move. Well, he can stay there, frankly.
He's a whopper.
He's actually on the field of play at the moment.
He is. What would that be? 3-4 foot long?
Yeah, look at him go. That looks menacing. That is a... Is it
dinosaur?
Is it an iguana?
Or is it a monitor lizard?
It might be a monitor lizard, I don't know, but he's after something or somebody anyway. This is the next one, turned into the leg side.
Was it a Komodo dragon or something? One of those.
It might have been a baby one.
Yes, but it looked hungry.
Ooh.
Wouldn't fancy that turning up at 5 leg while you're fielding.
I mentioned it earlier.
Look at it now.
I think that's speeded up, isn't it?
Whoa.
That is a very menacing looking animal, whatever it is, reptile of some sort with a nasty looking tongue. That's out towards deep mid wicket for another single. I did tell the story the other day. At that time you were chased, weren't you, on that great Martara down in the south.
Yes, that's right. It got up on its hind legs.
It did,
and sort of really came charging after me.
Well, you were at the other end of the ground. I remember I was in the press tent. And it was very hot, and a howl went up from the far end of the ground. We weren't quite sure what it was, and I'd never seen you move so fast.
No, I know.
But then one of those, yes, it was up on its hind legs.
Yeah.
And I don't know whether it all fancied you or something, but it was running at high speed.
It fancied the taste of me.
Yeah, you went off.
I did.
I don't know what they're going to do to get rid of that.
Well, I wouldn't fancy that creeping up at me at fine leg, I must admit.
He's still on the field of play, low. and it's a sort of menacing, prowling run with his tongue darting in and out. They got him in slow motion. Now look at that tongue. Oh, it's a great fork on the end as well. And there's a bit of yellow in it.
That looks like it's been around for a couple of million years, that, doesn't it?
Well, there's a monitor lizard apparently. It's got some nasty looking claws.
Yeah.
And it's basically wearing a suit of armour. Now, there's a groundsman, by the look of it, has been dispatched to go and deal with this. And I don't envy him necessarily. He's got a mask on, but a yellow T-shirt. And I suspect that rather large man, his boss, has said, off you go and get rid of that lizard.
Shoo him off. Wow. Dinosaur, it was like a dinosaur, isn't it?
We see dogs, so there's the old dog invasion's always quite good fun, of course, especially when the stewards try and chase them. We had a very good one in Fisher-Capatnam last time we were there, who actually not only invaded the ground for quite a long time, but then invaded the dressing rooms as well. And he was, again, he was not one you'd necessarily want to argue with. He's quite a big fella, and a bit sort of dribbly and jowly, and he went into the England dressing room first, and that was quickly evacuated. They all came running out, and then he went into the visitors. Now I think he's going under some. Oh no, he's going past the rollers. He's still with us. Well, if he bolts onto the ground, I think you'll see a few people scatter. 209 for 4. We've got Mendes coming on. He bowled a couple of overs yesterday. He went for 19, so it's quite expensive. He bowls an off spinner, which turns slowly. It's picked up at short leg. It's the man, of course, on his Test debut, who got a naught. Caught down the leg side. Is a disappointing way to go. He's bowling his offies now, bowling him to Butler, who's 4 away from a 50. England 172 behind. And bowls again a little short and turned away with the turn by Butler, but Root shouts no. They came together at 132 for 4 when Lawrence was caught by Turamane. Lovely ball, actually, just spun. It was a perfect left-hander's left-off spinner's dismissal, really. And after Bairstow was caught in the gully. And next one floated up, clipped away by Butler. Rolls away down the ground to long on.
Yeah, that's when it was looking like an absolute minefield, wasn't it?
Yeah, it
like
wasn't looking
getting
good.
a wicket every delivery. But when you get in the subcontinent, even if it does turn and bounce and the odd one sort of rears up at you a bit, once you get in, it starts to look easy, doesn't it? It's just as you say, when you lose that wicket, that's your chance when the new man comes to the crease. But these two have played very well.
Root spotted something on the pitch there, just tapping it away.
Doesn't even look like he's broken sweat, Joe.
No,
does he?
No.
Cool as a cucumber.
Back he goes again to a ball that a lot of people would have gone forward to that later.
Yeah.
He's somehow got that ability to get back to it.
That's what happened to me in India. Everyone, it's a bit like, or whether someone sort of keeps clipping you through the leg side from outside off stump, and the captain's standing there, get it outside off stump instead of bowling it foot outside off stump.
Yeah.
Pitch it up, Phil, pitch it up. It's almost half volley.
Yeah.
But he's
Down
playing
the
off
pitch
the
now,
back foot.
flicking that away to big wicket.
Yeah.
The man kept quite busy out there, and Buldenia throws it back again. 211 for 4. Root 117. And it's 8 o'clock on a Sunday morning.
Morning.
And, good morning to you all those at least who are just joining us. Lovely to welcome you. We're not actually literally welcoming you to Gaul, but we're watching things in Gaul. That one spins down the leg side. It's not taken comfortably by Dick Weller, who's been on vociferous form this morning. Let me tell you what's been going on. 211 for 4 is the score. It was 132 for 4. So England being rescued here by Messrs Root on 117 not out, and Butler 47 not out after Bairstow fell after 18 runs have been added this morning. He was caught in the gully off Mbeldinia for 28, and then Lawrence again caught in the same sort of place. A lovely ball that turned, bounced, and really I don't think there's a huge amount he could have done about that, to be fair. He was out for 3, and suddenly you thought, oh dear, this is not looking terribly promising at all, because a lead on this pitch, it is now spinning more than it was. And actually I saw a ballsy one from the quick bowler Lakmal earlier on that went straight through the top just after lunch. I mean, it was another sort of detonation, and it almost produced a catch to mid-off, one of those where it was a push drive, the ball stopped, puff of dust. So there's a bit going on now, not impossible, not a minefield, but there is more happening now than there was. And so I mean, at the moment, the lead 170. That is a lot of runs.
Yeah, first innings total is going to be crucial, isn't it?
Yeah.
You don't want to be batting.
Embaldenia bowls to Root, who's on the front foot, waiting for that. This runs away to backward point.
Yeah, you don't want to be batting last with 2 minutes to chase or too long to survive.
No, you don't. Can they get level? It's a long way yet. Root 117 drives into the offside, finds the gap.
It looks like Sri Lanka have almost sort of given up trying to get Joe Root out, haven't they? They've just set everyone back. There is a slip there, of course there is, because the odd one is turning and bouncing, looking for that outside edge. But it's almost like, well, we'll try and bowl a few dots at Joe Root, or give him one and get him off strike.
Over the wicket at him for a little while. You know,
well, just to change the line.
Yeah, I want to try and sweep him out the rough. Okay, give it a go.
Yeah.
Just do something different. It's still round the wicket, bowling to Butler, who goes back. He's looking for his 50. He might get it here too. He's chopped it away past the diving point, out towards the boundary, and our lizard it goes. And Joss Butler waves his bat to the dressing room. He's got a big smile on his face. He's done really well there. 51 not out from 80 balls. There was one scary moment where he hit the ball bottom edge, and the ball was caught, but did it come off his boot? Did it come off the ground? There were lots and lots of replays. Decided it had come off the ground, although Chandimal, the captain, wasn't very happy about the decision, but even so, that's all really, and he's played very well. He's swept, he's reverse swept, and most important, he's kept Root company, and he got a bit of a gift there to put away for his half century. Nice short ball outside the off stump, and on he goes, and this is Fuller, and played down to mid-on, I'm sure. Andy has got lots of information to give us about that.
Yes, as you say, 80 balls with his 7th 4. It's his 20th score of 50 or more in Test cricket. He has 200s amongst those.
Dips at the knees. Embaldenia bowls to works that away towards mid-wicket.
Yeah, it's been very controlled, hasn't it, from Josh Butler? Usually it's sort of, there's balls pinging everywhere, isn't there? And 4s and 6s, and he looks to get after the bowling and put pressure back on the bowlers. But you just feel he's played within himself.
There's Butler forward.
Very watchful.
Plays into the onside, so the end of the over, 216 for 4. Root 80, 118 on the Butler 51. You're into your herbal teas at the moment, aren't you, Tuffy?
Yes.
I can recommend to you, one that I'm trying at the moment.
Yeah.
It's peppermint and licorice.
Oh, lovely, yes.
If you like licorice, and it's got a really nice sort of warm
for the throat
feeling in the throat.
Yeah,
it's really lovely. So
what does that one do? Is that one sort of a detox or a...
I don't know.
It might be a bit of throaty.
It is good for your throat.
Yeah.
Peppermint and licorice, very tasty. It's got quite a distinctive taste, but it's got a bit more flavour than some of the other ones has.
I know what you're saying.
You know what I mean?
I like a nice ginger tea as well. There's a nice gingery one that's knocking about.
Right.
There again with that sort of like warm glow to them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I quite like them.
If I suggested to you about 20 years ago that one day you'd be talking
tea
on the radio talking about herbal teas. I'm not sure it's very good for your image, really.
Oh dear.
What do you think?
I know. Well, time
Phil
moves on.
Softer, he's a lad, he's a character. Well, he's not actually. He's now on the dandelion tea. Oh dear. Whatever happened to Phil?
I know. Time waits for no man.
Andy, what are you drinking down there?
I've been drinking very nice
whiskey,
Chinese black tea. Actually,
oh, there you go. It's very popular, isn't it? You see.
Butler's 50 off 80 balls. I'll come to after this ball.
Okay, Pereira's floating one up, and Root drives, and there's no run.
To show the way he generally restrained himself in Test cricket, it's 20th 50. This is actually the 7th fastest, so 14 of his 2050s have taken 80 or more balls.
216 for 4. And Root turns that away. A good stop there. That short leg tumbling over and over. Difficult place to field. There's Fernando in there.
We would.
Well, that is you're being given there, Tuffers. I can see on my screen 216 for 4. And
I think it's a bit of lizard info.
On side. Oh, lizard info.
Yes,
I lost sight of him now.
Forgot my glasses. That's the only trouble. Got my glasses. Herbal tea. Forgot my glasses.
Where did it all go wrong?
I don't know. It's the last couple of years, John. To be honest with you, it come on me quick.
Yeah. You were the wild boy. You were the, you know.
Don't. Hey, listen, still got it.
Yeah, you were the Barmy Army's pin-up.
Yeah.
Bit of a rebel. As is floated up, Butler turns to mid-wicket, straight to the fielder there. And there's no run. You can tell us all about monitor lizards.
Yes, I will do. The lizard you saw on the pitch was probably Foranus bengalinus, the common Indian monitor lizard.
All right, this is turned away down the leg, so I've missed actually. It's very wise of you not to attempt the true pronunciation of that.
Well, fossils of which go back at least 5 million years. I thought he looked a bit leathery. Yeah, there you go. 9 to 5 million years ago.
How big do they grow to? Mendes
doesn't
again,
say that.
bowling his off spinner, turned away past short leg.
Yeah, it also includes the kimono dragon. Yes.
So the same family, are they?
Yeah. And that's fond regards.
That's
Talking about lizards from Dr. Richard Milne. Thank you very much. That's cleared that up.
Fond regards in return.
Oh, I say, hold on. Yes. A senior lecturer at the University of Edinburgh.
Well, we're not going to argue with him.
No, we're not. He knows his lizards.
He does know his lizards. But, I'm not sure where this one's gone. He was last seen heading towards a set of stairs.
5 to 9 million years ago they were wandering around. Fossils, they found them.
Yeah, incredible. Well, they are quite widespread in Sri Lanka. You see them around.
Yeah.
And the monkeys, of course. We talked about the monkeys the other day, didn't we?
Crocodiles go back millions of years as well, I think.
Yeah, I don't think you see them in Sri Lanka, do you?
I bet there's a caiman knocking about somewhere.
Could be. Embildenia bowls to Root, start of a new over. He'll move to 120 about us. Getting onto the front foot, stroking the ball to cover. And really literally walking that run. 218 for 4, if that makes sense. No, there's always lots to do, lots to see. I think the elephant is still the prized spot, isn't it?
Oh,
when you see those.
Beautiful.
Yeah. Back goes Butler out to point. Scurrier thing. Although I think the best.
You always end up on the back of one, don't you, when you sort of tour Sri Lanka?
Oh, yes.
India? Yes, I was always being stuck on the back of an elephant for a photo.
The best thing that we have seen, I think, out in the wild on one of these tours, we did see wild tiger.
Oh, wow,
in
did
India.
you?
That was pretty special. Yeah.
Wow, is it?
And then Embildenia bowling outside the off stump. Bit of bounce there, and Root played that well. He got on top of it. Played it down to point.
Sorry, John, where did you see that? That is very
enough,
special.
It was Emma's first. I think it was Emma's first trip to India, and we thought we could do something special. And if you draw a line, I think we're going from Mumbai to Calcutta, and on a straight line, in other words, as far as a flight's concerned, was our old friend Nagpur, where we always seem to end up.
Yeah.
Which is not necessarily the most glamorous of spots, if we're honest. Right in the middle of India, red hot.
Yeah.
And so on. Best known for its oranges. Route forward. And so we found a tiger reserve about, I don't know, 4-hour drive from there. So sort of bumped along. It was fantastic, really interesting. Into proper India, you know.
Yeah.
And we were there, I think, 3 days. I didn't see anything for 3 days.
Or just sort of driving about?
Driving around. It's a huge place like Wales or something.
Yeah.
And there's some runs. Hit away through wide mid-on, another boundary to Root. Then they got his length wrong. He goes to 124, 223 for 4. And then suddenly, I think the guide had virtually given up.
Yeah.
And suddenly, from nowhere, there's a beautiful tigress just walked across in front of us and pottered about. And didn't seem too bothered. So then we went and had some breakfast. Sort of literally fried up breakfast on the bonnet of his Jeep. It was so hot. And everyone's very pleased. Fantastic, great stuff. Well done. And he's very pleased with himself. We're driving back and he stops, which he'd been doing for 3 days, and listening. I can hear the monkeys. I said, come on, we've done it now. We've seen the tiger. He said, no, wait. And moments later, another tigress and 4 little cubs.
Wow.
Walked right across and away, and that was it. So that was a pretty magical moment.
Very lucky.
But you don't see them in Sri Lanka, I don't suppose. 223 for 4. And Root 124, Butler 52. So this partnership continues, and just as well that it is too. It's 158, then the deficit still at 223 for 4. And that, I complete, will mean there's a drinks break on the horizon.
I went to save the rhinos in Assam, which is sort of top right of India, isn't it? That sort of, is it the Brahmaputra?
Oh, it may be. Do you have rhinos up there?
Yes, Indian rhinos, yeah.
Do they?
Went over there with the BBC. They did a documentary about going to save the rhinos.
Are they white rhinos or black rhinos or something altogether different?
Yeah, altogether different. The Indian rhino.
Well, I didn't know you had Indian rhino stuff.
Yes, you do.
Well, thank you for enlightening me.
Yeah.
I'm going to read all about them, and we're going to go to Simon Mann up in Manchester, where it may be snowing by now.
Oh, is it?
Via Andy Zoltzman.
The latest on the Root versus Embledenia battle. Root in the series has now faced 33 overs and 5 balls from the Sri Lankan left-arm spinner. Scored 168 runs without being out. The rest of England's top 5, 2 openers, Sibley and Crawley, Bairstow and Dan Lawrence. Between them, 9 for 80 off 37.4 overs from the same bowler. So fairly impressive. On Josh Buttler, superb recent form with the bat since the second test against West Indies. Scores of 67, 38, 75, 0 not out, 152, 30 and 46. So basically 6 scores consecutively over 30. If you ignore that 0 not out, he only had 2 scores over 30 in his previous 12 innings.
Thank you, Andy. So, players taking drinks, 223 for 4. I can tell Tuffers, I think he's taking his headphones off now, but there are crocodiles in Sri Lanka. It's home to around 2,500 to 3,500 saltwater crocodiles, most of which are, many of which are found in the national parks, although they're not as common as the mugger crocodiles apparently. Salt is in the estuaries and the riverine systems on the western, southern and eastern coasts of Sri Lanka. So pay attention if you're thinking you're going for a swim. I think they're quite dangerous, aren't they? Saltwater crocodiles. They have them in Australia. So there we go. A bit of wildlife information for you. Alistair Cook is with me at 2:23 for 4. They're having a raging debate on the BBC website at the moment, apparently, Alistair, about whether Root is in the so-called batting Fab Four, whether he's returned or whether he ever left it, or the Fab Four, supposedly Smith, Kohli, Williamson and Root. Although I see from the ICC rankings, there's another player who's Kohli's at 4. There's another player who's gone into the top 3, and that is, of course, along with Smith and Williamson, Labuschagne, yeah. Labuschagne is at 3. Root was at 11 at the start of the series, and with that double 100, he's gone into number 5. Where do you see him in the? Do you see him as part of the Fab Four?
Well, I think he's definitely in there, in my opinion. Sorry, just slightly distracted. I was going to see Fox number 7 today. I have on my counting watch, and it's because it's frosty. That's why it's frosty, because the scent stays around for hunting. That's why they're all out and about this morning. But I thought they just knocked over bins in London, so they didn't need to do much hunting. But that is why we've seen more today than we have on other days.
Foxes, I live in southwest London. Foxes are almost as common as dogs. I mean, there are so many of them, and they're so bold now. They just, you see them out. I saw one sunbathing actually one day, on the roof of a house across the way once.
Well, we've got the one here. The one just walked across the pavilion. If you imagine the Oval walked from kind of the dressing room stairs across to the new stand. That's where that one's. Well, we do have actually the other one. It's just sat in to the left of us. He hasn't moved for the last hour. Just asleep on the concrete.
Right, play resumes after the drinks break. Ramesh Mendes is bowling, and it spins down the leg side, and Buttler lets it go. So the Fab Four. I mean, Root clearly is in that sort of top echelon of players, isn't he?
He without a doubt. I think like everyone, he might have had a couple of years where he hasn't kind of played at this level, but he's still, the stuff he's turned out was still, incredibly impressive without going on and getting the big scores, which then totally change your stats around. A lot of, 40s, 50s, 60s, without going on and getting the big double hundreds, the big 150s, which really, really help.
Mendes bowls, Buttler sweeps towards deep backward square leg. Kusal Pereira is there, another single onto the total. Buttler to 53. This is a good partnership. These two came together at 132 for 4. England were rocking then, another wicket or two, and Sri Lanka will be right on top, but England fighting hard. 224 for 4. They're 157 runs behind. Root 124 not out. Of course, 49 50s. It really stands out, doesn't it? 49 50s and 1800s. It's bright shining light, those 49 half centuries, not turning enough into centuries.
But it's the other way of looking at it is how many times he gets in and makes a contribution. Do you know what I mean? That's how many times. Surely that's as high as it gets in terms of number of times you get in and make a significant score without maybe going 100 compared to other players. I mean, Kohli's obviously 22 and 24 or something, which is unbelievable conversion rate.
He's made more hundreds and fifties, if you sort of mean.
Yeah,
I think so. It's something like that.
But then other times he must get quite a lot low scores as well.
Mendes bowls, Root goes back and works it away into the onside with a flick of the wrists towards short fine leg.
And he's about to tell us we're totally wrong.
No, that's good. There was a stat about Joe Root that had slightly declined recently. That was his conversion of quarter centuries into half centuries. It sort of backs up your point about the regularity of his contributions that come to off this ball from Mendes.
Partnership with 92. Mendes bowls. Forward goes Root, playing it to mid-wicket, and there's no run.
I wrote an article about it a couple of years ago that only Bradman and Syed Anwar had better rates of converting 25s into 50s, but then, as you say, Root hasn't necessarily always gone on 3 figures. So hugely consistent up to the last couple of years.
Root waits, Mendes bowls, that's down the leg side, played away nicely by Root, threading the ball through the field on the leg side back of the square, because there are 2 men there, and he takes the bowling as well. End of the over, 125 to him, 225 for 4 to England. They're 156 behind, Buttler 53.
One of the reasons that this talk of the Fab Four, which I'm not sure is necessarily massively relevant, but from the start of the 2017-18 Ashes until this series, Root had averaged 39 in 37 tests. Still a lot of 50s, 21 50-plus scores, but only 4 centuries. Over that time, Smith averaged 66, Kohli 61, and Williamson 58. So he had definitely dropped down over the previous 3 years. Before that, he was right up in the very top bracket, but he had a decline really until this series.
I mean, there's also as well, talk about the 4 of them. There is Labuschagne, he hasn't got the numbers yet in terms of longevity of career, but he started extremely promisingly. Here is Embledenia beginning a new over, bowls to Root back, nudging into the leg side for another single, takes him to 126. Is Babar Azam as well, whether he's in that bracket.
I think actually Tuff has said it earlier, and I totally agree with the point that Joe Root in this last 2 innings, or 2, obviously the double hundreds now here, he hasn't tried to go through the gears. He's found his level and just kept at that same, the same level of intensity of run scoring. This one has almost gone a bit slower, but he's like almost I don't need to force myself on the opposition. I score quick enough anyway. And that must be one of his maybe learnings in the break he's had. It's just I'm just going to find that rhythm and keep at that rhythm.
Embledenia bowls, Buttler plays the ball off middle and off stump there, showing both middle and off, pushed it away into the offside with an open face, no run. Rather
than be determined to kind of force the positivity on the opposition to try and push the game away from them quicker, these big innings of big scores do the damage.
Embledenia full, Buttler digs it out into the offside and there's no run. Well, it's been more controlled from Root today, isn't it? I'd say it wasn't ultra aggressive yesterday, but it was so positive. And today he's played a bit more within himself. Buttler bends at the knees and again takes it off stump with an open face and runs it away down towards third man. There's a chase for Mendes, who's onto it, and they come back for 2 runs. That looked like a risky shot from Buttler, and they got the reaction from the Sri Lankan close field out there, wicketkeeper and the bowler as well. Another look at it. Yeah, he's giving himself some room, just showing the bowler his stumps, trusting his eye and his hands.
He did, but the key to that was what he was playing with a straight bat, so he's got more chance of hitting it. If you try and hit, the ball went very square, behind square.
Embledenia to Buttler. This time Buttler stretches forward and plays an orthodox defensive shot into the offside.
You normally thought you kind of play a late cut with the horizontal bat. He played that with the straight bat, so you have time to adjust and you give yourself more places to hit the ball on the bat. So actually looked quite controlled from here.
Embledenia to Buttler, and Buttler tries to guide that into a gap on the offside using his wrist there, but it's too close to Chandimal for him to get a single off the last ball of the over. So Buttler 55, Root 126. These two closing in on what would be the second 50 partnership of the innings. So we've had 2 wickets, century partnership, 100 partnership, I should say. 2 wickets, 100 partnership, 2 wickets, and now on the verge of a century partnership between these two. And Root is in his 99th Test match. He went past Geoffrey Boycott, as the leading run scorers for England, and he is not far away now from taking over, or overtaking Kevin Peterson. What's that? Is that 3 away? 3 away from Kevin Peterson.
Yeah, 4 here will overtake him into 5th place on the England list.
And above him, David Gower, Alex Stewart, Graham Gooch, and someone else. Here is Mendes bowling, and Root turns other way towards short leg, and there is no run. I wonder whether he could topple you, Alistair, in time.
I think it's inevitable. I think
another 4,000 runs, 228 for 4. The new ball is 10 overs away. Here is Root driving. Mendes goes away to his right and picks up, and there's no run. A voice to my right says, could he overtake Sachin?
Is that Varney?
Yes.
Didn't he gets a lot of stick, doesn't he, from Indian fans when he starts suggesting that is at all possible?
Here's Mendes bowling, and flicked away by Root, taking it from outside the off stump, using his wrist, and then the ball hits the short leg fielder, rolls back to him, and he's in such good form, he flicks it up with his bat to the short leg fielder. That Mickey Arthur would be unhappy that's not out after what happened in the first Test. And that incident when Root played the ball into the ground, and the ball bounced up and hit him on the glove, and the catch was claimed. Root sweeps. Must have hit the short leg fielder there, because it bobbles down towards deep back of square leg. There's real venom in that shot, so it must have had some of the pace taken off it by short leg. So 1 more run to the total, and these two just completely settled the game down. It looked dicey for England after about 3/4 an hour's play today. There was also that incident involving Joss Butler, which is a strange one, because from one camera angle it looked as if he under-edged the ball into his boot, and for another it looked as if it went into the ground. Butler on 55, reverse sweep, struck on the pad, goes out towards short leg, and they got him. They're claiming the catch. There's an appeal, and the umpire is saying, just hold on a second, I'm going across to have a chat to see whether that backs. So I don't think it did, so there's an under edge on this. It's very similar to the incident from earlier, but I wonder whether this one has gone, off the padding or boot out towards short leg this time, whereas the one before it was close to the boot, close to the ground. Oh, he's given it not out. He said not out in terms of soft signal. So let's have a look.
It's almost identical, isn't it? It's just this one. I reckon whether it hit his heel of his front foot.
It goes to the reverse sweep, and where does this go? No, this is out. This is out. It's hit his foot. This is going to be out. This is much clearer this time. It was so close to the incident we were talking about earlier. This is out. If he's hit it, anyway, he has hit it, hasn't he? He's got something on it. And it's going to be a first Test wicket for Ramesh Mendes.
After getting from that other angle, it looks...
I think this is out this time, Alistair, isn't it?
Well, I think it's out. Yeah, the first one was almost absolutely clean, but then I know it's off to. It hasn't bounced, has it? You can see the gap on the video on the left-hand side. Clearly off the boot. Okay, I think it's given out.
Show the completion of the catch, please.
Still showing it. I'm sure this is going to be given out. Just making sure the catch was taken.
Clearly caught. So I have a decision for the big screen. You can load out, out, out. I repeat, out, out, out.
There we go. Did we get that? I think we did. It's out. First Test wicket then for Ramesh Mendes. He had to wait a moment for it. It's interesting. The reaction from Dharmasena was, just hold on a second, everyone. We'll just calm down, and we'll have a look at this. And then the soft signal was out. Sorry, it was not out.
Yeah. I don't quite understand. I didn't quite understand what all the fuss was. The other one. There was a lot of, Chandimal went to the umpire to say what's happened here, and they kept on shaking his head. That was just clearly, it was clear that it hit his boot and it looped up. But even then, why didn't I think the umpire seemed to thought it was out, but then he gave the soft signal not out. It is definitely confused me what's happened. Anyway, the most important thing for Sri Lanka is they got the breakthrough after looking quite so calm and controlled from England. You'd have to say a pretty lucky breakthrough. Josh Butler very unlucky to inside edge it twice onto his boot and loop up. But Sri Lanka got the little door opening ajar a little bit. Can they get through it?
Yep, it's another twist in this intriguing test match. I was saying just before that wicket fell, the one before, as you saw one camera angle from front on, and it looked as if the ball went into his boot, just like that one did, and then you saw another one and you thought, well, perhaps it has just touched the ground before it hits his boot. And I think that was what it was all about. That's why Sri Lanka were questioning the decision. Hold on, look, it looked clearly out one camera angle and a bit of doubt on the other. What do you go by? And anyway, they went on the one where there was a bit of doubt. This time there was no doubt, and Butler is on his way for 55, reverse sweeping the ball, under edging it into his boot, and the ball going out towards short leg. So an important breakthrough for Sri Lanka, and Sam Curran comes to the crease. And
the last 3 balls Sam Curran has faced in Test cricket in Sri Lanka have got him out.
I was just waiting for the voice of doom.
He got a golden duck in the first Test here in his one innings, the golden duck in the second innings of the second of the 2 tests he played in 2018, having made 60 odd in the first innings. So the end of that 60 odd and 2 golden ducks, personal hat-trick.
Yes, he was cleaned up by Fernando, by pace in the first innings of the first test, because he didn't bat in the second innings, so he's only faced 1 ball in the series so far, and that's the problem really for England, is the lack of time in the middle for the lower order, the likes of Curran and Bess, who are required to required to make a contribution. And then it's Leach at 9, Wood at 10, and Anderson at 11. So it's quite important here that Curran and then Bess to come make a significant contribution. It's Mendes, off-break bowler, bowling to the left-hander, so he won't mind that at all. Mendes bowling to the left-hander. He's got rid of Butler. Great moment. He's contributed. Now out for naught in the first innings, yet to take a wicket, but now he has. And it's 2:29 for 5, with 9 overs to go into the new ball. Alistair Cook is there, and so too is Daniel Norcross.
I am. The door is ajar. Alistair, it's getting a bit bothersome for Sri Lanka, that partnership. 97 between Butler and Root. And we must remember that this is a 2-test series. Sri Lanka want to have at least one hand on that Moose Cup. To do that, they need to win this game. They don't have any other options, so...
Important breakthrough for them. I thought Josh Butler played really well, a bit more aggressive than Joe Root in the partnership, scored a few more runs, and unusual for him to get out reverse sweep. Normally such a safe shot. I'd much rather almost him play the reverse sweep than look straight and defend. So if you are going to play it as many times that, you are going to get out occasionally, so I don't think it will change his game plan, but he played really well. Again, a good player of spin, but it'd be really interesting to see how Sam Curran plays it, because naturally quite an aggressive batsman, but Joe Root will be desperate for him to hang around and get that partnership going.
I don't often, as Pereira starts a new over, short and tucked into the onside by Root, going deep into his crease, out to deep mid-wicket for a single. Normally, you see Curran prospering, going straight. There's been a lot of sweeps played in this match, and reverse sweeps, that one from Butler hitting the boot, being caught at short leg. Be interested to see if Curran adopts that approach, or whether he sticks to... He generally likes to go down the ground, doesn't he? That's where he's most productive. Also quite nice ball coming on, but I say that largely because I see him in English cricket, and there are not that many spinners on turning tracks that have troubled him.
No, I haven't really seen him play too much spin, so...
Pereira is into him, and he props forward in pretty solid defence, pushes into the offside, and there's no run.
But he is a character who likes these situations. How many times has he come in so far in his England career with England in trouble with the bat, certainly against India, and those 40s, 50s, 60s he scored to get England back into the game.
He defends a full ball back to the bowler, and there's no run. He got the marvellous distinction very early on in his career of getting out on his birthday for his age.
Huh.
I think he was out. I think was he 20 or 21. I think he was at Headingley against Pakistan. I want to say 2018 perhaps. Comes forward in defence, pushes it to the offside. There's no run, and I remember Andrew Sampson was with us, and he raised his eyes to the heavens when I said, "Oh, that can't have happened too often. People getting out on their birthday for their age."
That can't have happened.
It has. Jeff Puller got out for 26 on his 26th birthday.
And that's it.
I think that was the only one we discovered. You'd struggle, wouldn't you? Because they don't tend to play on your birthday.
No, that would be...
Pereira in, round the wicket, tucked into the onside by Curran. He gets a run. He's off the mark. Not really a pair, but it was a sort of a series pair he was on. And he gets a single, 231 for 5.
Yeah, not likely to play on Christmas Day, although there was one schedule against India in 2012 where we played the test matches first and we had some 5 one-dayers afterwards, and the BCCI asked whether we could stay on during Christmas and play on Christmas Day.
Really? Did that go down well?
No.
Pereira in, again down the leg side, and Root, he's so certain with his movements, goes back and then just plays it very safely into the ground, but couldn't beat the short fine leg. And there's no run. End of the over, 231 for 5. Root 128. Curran has 1.
Yeah, so not surprisingly that was changed, and we flew home after that Nagpur game and then flew back out. I think we might have had 2 weeks at home.
Matches used to take place on Christmas. Of course, football matches used to take place on Christmas Day a lot.
Yeah.
Used to get extraordinary scores on Christmas Day. I think Simon Mann will be aware of this. There's one brilliant list of football scores on Christmas Day, sort of 7-4 and 8-6, because implication being that the players perhaps not at their most... they weren't tracking back with quite the same assiduity, let's say, as they might have done on other days.
Yeah, who do you support?
I'm an AFC Wimbledon fan, so I apologise. I made a don't jibe about Wycombe Wanderers earlier, largely because our producer is a Wycombe Wanderers fan, so it was cheap and unnecessary. But,
how are they getting on, Wycombe?
Well, it looked like they might be about to rejoin Wimbledon in Division 1. That's if Wimbledon could stay up. So Wimbledon themselves are languishing quite far down, but they're one place ahead of the relegation zone. But we mustn't keep going on about football. Defended. This next delivery from Mendes, the wicket taker, by Curran. Back up the wicket, no run. People do get a little bit vexed if we talk too much about cricket, about football.
Okay.
If you want football though, 11:35 live, FA Cup.
And Luton are on TV against Chelsea.
Is that your team?
It is.
Forward comes Curran to a full delivery, back up the wicket. There's no run. So they're big rivals, Watford.
Yeah.
So you and Stephen Finn.
Yeah, we don't talk at certain moments of the year.
No, I can imagine. Curran faces up again. Mendes comes round the wicket and he's defending fairly solidly here. Curran, his back leg just flicked out a little bit. Always gets slightly nervous when it happens to a batsman.
Has he been on many Lions tours to the subcontinent? I just can't. I know he's playing obviously the IPL, but obviously very different in the way you're going to bat in the IPL as you are in the Test match here.
Mendes in, back into his crease, whipped into the onside, short mid wicket, no run. He won't have played too much. We'll go to Andy, but thinking about it, he's been in the England squad since a very early age, hasn't he, Andy?
Well, on England's last tour of Sri Lanka, played a couple of long innings, 104 balls for 48 and 119 for 64. What's notable, the number of sixes that he hit.
Mendes into him, and he defends again to the offside, off the front foot. There's no run.
So a steady scoring rate around about 50 per 100 balls. In the 48, he hit 3 sixes and only 1 4. And in the 64, 6 sixes and 1 4. So it was very much largely defence and then smacking it over the ropes.
Yep, that's a very familiar tactic. England could really do with him putting on a good partnership here as he cuts a shorter ball, goes back into his crease and gets it out towards man on the boundary and covers. And Buldenia, they get through for a single. It means Curran will keep strike. He has 2, Root 128. The over rate has been slack today. We've only had 18 overs since lunch, and England has scored 51 runs in that time. Root hasn't had an enormous amount of the strike of late. which is not helping England's scoring rate.
No, but I don't actually think he would mind that at the moment. Just watching him, I think he's going through one of those stages where physically he's quite tired. I think he's been in the field pretty much the whole 3 days, isn't he? Fielded and then pretty much straight out to bat, and then obviously following on from what happened last week where he pretty much spent the whole game in the field as well. So I think you sometimes when you bat for such a long period of time, you just go through those little phases of 15-20 minutes where you don't feel great. Physically you don't feel great, and actually so hit this little time out, as it seems, and then he hasn't played a sweep shot, just been very content to knock ones. Actually, I don't think he'll mind that much. He can kind of get his probably
Do you
6
sort
or
of switch
7
off a bit in a way, or is it just harder accessing being switched on?
Yeah, I just think it's so hot and just literally physically feeling tired and a bit drained, and I just think because you've been out there for such a long period of time, you're quite a long way past 100.
Pereira into the left-handed Curran, who plays this fine down through fine legs, more at a sort of square leg position, and as a result Curran can get through for a single. He moves to 3, 233 for 5, the deficit 148.
That rhythm you want, he's had pretty much the whole innings. You kind of lose a little bit as other things like the heat and the humidity just get to you, and it will come back quickly. He's looking at him there, he's a little bit more red-faced than he was, so maybe the tea break will do him a bit of good as well. Yep,
we're about half an hour away or so from that tea break. Can he get there? He comes forward in defence, pushes into the offside, and there's no run. Hastenton doesn't look. He doesn't. He's not playing rash shots or the ball's beating his bat, but there's just a little bit of fluency has gone out of his play at the moment. He's just being a little bit more cautious. He's flexing those knees, might be feeling it in the back a bit. Goes into his crease and clips away nicely into the onside for a single. That's deep square leg. Gets off strike, which will please him. He moves to 129. One more run. He's drawn level now, hasn't he? He's drawn level with Kevin Peterson. Is that right, Andy? Yes, I can see you nodding. One more run would take him ahead of Peterson, and then he's 50 runs away at the moment from David Gower. It's amazing at his age. Curran defends the ball that comes straight on from Pereira from round the wicket. The off spinner getting that ball just keep going, and Curran read it, pushed it into the offside. There's no run. He has 3. It's a lovely sunny day. There's a bit of a breeze, which might be helpful.
I mean, it'd be a good 3 to knock off in one innings, wouldn't it? Boycott, Peterson and Gower all in one go.
That would be good. Here comes Pereira. Forward comes Curran and defends back at the wicket. There's no run. I mean, we're looking at England players he's knocking off, but he'll be going past other luminaries of the game in this innings as well, I should imagine. Went past Sobers before this innings. In his 228 he went past Sobers. Pereira in, forward comes Curran. He's looking very solid on that front foot. Defends back at the wicket to the bowler. 234 for 5 at the end of the over route. We'll have strike at the start of the next. He's 129, Curran 3, 6 more overs till the new ball. So let's just have a little look at this, Alistair. 31 minutes till tea. These two will want to be there for the new ball, and the new ball will be available, you'd think, just a bit before tea. Yeah, might get an over or 2 in at the current over rate.
Which is not
great. It's not great at all, and surprisingly not great actually, because we've seen a lot of spin, and we've seen a lot of the ball being hit straight back to the bowler, which you'd think would speed things up a little bit.
No, England just grinding nicely. I think there'll be a really important hour after tea with that new ball, where if it does grip a bit more for the spinners, that hardness, it might come onto the bat better, and Joe Root can find that rhythm again and start scoring quicker. But that, again, you were talking about earlier about the runs, seems such a long way behind the game.
Mendes is in, and forward comes Root. Ramesh Mendes absolutely loves this. I've no idea why. I wasn't even sure if the ball didn't hit the bat, but if it did hit Root's pad, it hit it way outside the line of off stump. Dick Weller made a brilliant instinctive movement as if he was going to go all the way up, and then he went all the way back down again, all in the space of about a tenth of a second. You take a look at him here, Alistair. If they're going to, I don't know if we'll see it. Yes, big inside edge onto the knee. There goes Dick Weller, and Dick Weller comes down. Mendes is in. That's swept off short legged
Again.
body by Root for a single. You don't want to be fielding there. Last time it was Kusal Mendes who was tenderised like a steak. And here is that Fernando under the lid, he's now limping. He's been hit hard. Let's take a look and see exactly where it hit him. It went down into the ground, and as it got, it's got the heel, the left heel, as Fernando was turning around. It actually went straight up in the air off the heel, so we had an extraordinary dismissal, a bit like that in the first game when the ball came off Bairstow's heel, but much higher up. He was in the air jumping to evade. Fernando just knelt and turned, and it hit the back heel on the left foot. Curran forward in defence, pushes back up the wicket. There's no run. That single. Root moves to 130. Oh, is it time for you to? I think it's time for you to take a break.
I think it is. I think it's
Michael
the old
Vaughan,
skipper.
Yes. His hair's looking well. I don't know if he's had his breakfast yet.
Yes.
Mendes in. That's a beauty that beats the outside edge of Sam Curran's bat. Sorry, we'll come back to you in a second, Michael. Mendes has just ripped one there. I say part-time. He's an all-rounder. And that has landed on, I want to say, middle and off. And I don't know how you play that one. Curran played the right line, but the ball spun past his outside edge. Didn't for him, fortunately, get an edge. And Curran survives. 235 for 5. 2 slips, forward short leg in. Curran cuts. Slightly shorter ball, but no timing into the ground off an under edge. And there's no run. England have just lost the 1 wicket since lunch. It's rather unfortunate. Although I say that, Butler was very nearly out exactly the same way. Reverse sweeping under edge onto the boot and ballooned to Fernando at short leg. He went for a well-made 55 as Curran goes back into his crease, defends solidly, down into the ground. End of the over. Curran has 3 from 19. Root is still going. He's been batting. He's been on the field of play for so much of this series. He has 130. Michael Vaughan has rejoined us. Hello, Michael.
Yes. Good morning. I think Joe Root will buy a property, won't he, in Gaul? Just live there.
Might as well.
Yes, he might as well just pitch a tent or whatever he fancies down at that beautiful area of Sri Lanka. King prawns this morning for my breakfast.
Oh, lovely.
Dan, slightly concerning for Simon. It's it dipped in coriander and chilli, so there's a bit of a whiff.
Does he not care for those?
No. We don't pass our food around here.
No.
There's no sharing of the prawns.
No, but I suppose the odour. Yes.
Yes, the odour travels. He's not kind of looked at me in disgrace as yet.
How's his lentil and mung bean salad going?
I'm not too sure. I've not seen what he's had today. I don't think he's had his breakfast yet. So, no, he's not. He's shaking his head. He must be hungry. He's had a brew. He's off now. 5 minutes he's off. He said
He's probably
just giving me the
fasting or
indication.
something. He's forever trying various things.
A friend of mine fasted the other week actually for a couple of days.
Pereira, it starts a new over, worked into the onside by Root, but straight to short mid-wicket, no run. Oh yes,
yeah, and
a couple of days.
Yeah, just for 2 days. He said he felt alive. 2 days later, he said he just felt fantastic.
Really?
Yeah. Don't know why and don't know how, but
back into his crease goes Root and clips the ball away. He's just so good at playing that shot. He judges the length so perfectly. It's devilishly difficult for the off spinner because that wasn't short, but somehow Root gets back into his crease and works it through backward square leg. It's just a single, but it keeps the scoreboard ticking. 131. I see. Well, I suppose I could. Yeah, it's difficult to fast when you've got a gigantic sausage lattice in the back of the box. And I don't know if Cookie mentioned it, but we've cracked open the pineapple upside down cake. Pereira's in. Curran is beaten again on the outside edge by another terrific off break to the left-hander. Again, I'm looking for signs that Curran's playing this wrong in any way, and I don't think he is. I think he's got at the back coming down straight, but the ball has fizzed past the outside edge. Yeah,
and where Pereira's, look at the drift there, Dan, just drift into the left-hander. Wonderful spin bowling, that shape through the air, then sharp spin.
Curran gets right to the pitch of this ball and defends back up the wicket, and there's no run. You just have to hope, don't you, if you're the batter, that you don't get an edge. There's nothing else you can do.
Yeah, you just got to hope that it's not your day with the outside edge being found. Played it well, he played it late, didn't go pushing out at it.
Here is Pereira again and waits for this. There's Curran and defends again off the front foot. And again, there's no run. He's faced 22 balls just for the 3 runs. England won't mind that at all, though, having lost Butler. That splendid partnership of 97 was broken between Root and Butler.
145 runs England trail by. It seems a long way off at this stage.
It really does, doesn't it? Forward comes Curran and defends into the ground, and there's no run. 76 overs gone. England 236 for 5. As you say, deficit 145. Sri Lanka very much on top, but you know, we haven't seen flurries of wickets. We've seen 2 quick wickets fall quite often in this match. But batters, if they want to dig in, they have been able to. So Sri Lanka will still be comfortable, won't they, Michael? But they'll get a bit less comfortable if they haven't bowled England out by the close of play today.
Well, that'll be the plan for England, bat the day out and just see where they end up. If they bat the day out, there'll be probably another 80, 90 runs.
Well, we'll have a long session, won't we? Because the over rate's been so poor. We've only had 46 overs today, despite the vast majority of those overs being bowled by spin.
What is that?
44 in theory left. As start of a new over, Mendes is in, and Root just tucks the ball into the onside for another single. It's exemplary batting from Root. 132 he moves to. Alistair Cook was saying he just thought that Root was going through not a poor passage, but just a little bit of a tired phase, and he was sort of happy just to turn over strike, get the single, not really play the sweep shot necessarily.
Yeah, I think Sri Lanka are playing for that. I think they're pretty much gifting Joe Root a single every first ball so they can get at Sam Curran.
Well, Curran's on strike to the off-spinning Mendes, and he drives nicely up to mid-off. There isn't a run there. We've had an email, by the way, from Ian Rattray, who says, "Hi TMS team, it's great to hear you guys back commentating on the overseas tour. Long may it continue. What a great first test." All this is true. I'm a little embarrassed to admit, although I've been listening to TMS since the 90s, I've never fully understood the fielding positions. Come back to it in a minute. As Curran goes back into his crease and pushes to short extra cover. This is in part due to being registered blind and not really knowing anyone who is able to explain clearly the positions. However, for my last birthday, my partner researched and made me a tactile cricket pitch with pins marking out the different fielding positions in relation to the pitch. Mendes again, and that's cut nicely by Curran. There is a fielder out there patrolling on the boundary. He covers, and he gets a single. Does Curran? It was short, went back and cut it. 238 for 5. Pins marking out the different fielding positions in relation to the pitch, batsmen and umpires. And what a difference. I can now imagine what is going on based on your commentary much more clearly. If you could give my partner a big shout out as a thank you, I'd be grateful. Her name is Chikodi. Mendes in to Root, who does sweep. He gets this quite fine, but goes straight to the fielder. He's attached an image of the tactile pitch. He says it looks a bit busy. There's lots of pins everywhere. Each pin represents a fielder. The batsmen are blue, the fielders are white, and the umpires are red. And it's genius, actually. That's superb. So it shows the slips, it shows a gully, a silly point, silly bit off a point, a cover, extra cover, slightly deeper extra cover, then all the different fielders around the boundary. It's clipped away into the onside by Root as he advanced on Mendes, works to short mid-wicket. And I'd be fascinated to know if we get all these absolutely right, you know. So it's a very fine, there's a backstop, a fine leg, a long leg, a deep back, a square leg. Then there are sort of 2 deep mid-wickets, really. One's a bit finer than the other, long on, long off, deep extra cover. It's marvellous. What a terrific visual aid that is. Well done, Chikodi. Is that the end of the over, right?
Yeah.
Sorry. If it's the end of the over, Michael, I'm going to hand over to Aggers via you.
Yes.
But unfortunately, the score has been taken off my screen. So I'm going to ask Andy Zaltzman to fill in the score, then go to you, and then back to Aggers, who'll take us through to tea.
It is 238 for 5, 3 overs to go till the new ball is available.
Did that last ball become a no-ball? I'm not too sure. I don't think so. Joe Root swept a delivery, and it looked for the first time remarkably, actually, that he kind of went down and he swept, and it looked like he got up and he had a bit of a cramp kind of moment.
It did like a cramp, didn't it? Yeah.
Remarkable that it's not happened previously. He's been out there so long.
So, we start with a new over. Curran comes forward and plays away out towards cover. And there is no run. I think we should be a bit grumpy about the Sri Lankan over rate. I mean, from their perspective, really. I mean, they're the team that needs to win the game. And they're crawling, and the way they're going, they won't get anything like the overs in for the day that they're supposed to. Floated up again by Pereira, pushed away out to point by the left-handed Curran. I mean, you bowl your overs, and it's absolutely basic if you want to bowl a team out to win a game. So how many have we had so far, Andy? Coming 20 minutes towards tea.
The 22 overs since lunch in 100 minutes.
Here's again floating this one up, and it's played back up the pitch. And this morning, so the total for the day.
25 this morning, so 47 overs in 3 hours and 40 minutes, which is tactically insane.
Well, it is insane because as a guide, you should be round about 57, 58 at tea. That's flicked away out to short leg. They're nowhere near it, are they?
But the problem with it, Ag, is that you're right, Sri Lanka, they've got to win the game, so you'd want as many overs as possible. So there's the first thing, the mindset of the team that are playing. But also, there just doesn't seem to be any kind of urgency to, fine players or punish them with suspensions or run penalties in Test match cricket. It's just like, it is what it is.
Pereira bowling outside the off stump, forced away out to point. I've never understood why the ICC has never got to grips with it, because it's one of our main talking points. Is people ticket money. There's so many reasons for them stamping out the slow over rate. They work on all sorts of other things, many of which are weird, obscure and largely irrelevant, but when it comes to something as important as the pace of the game, they just stick their heads in the sand, do nothing about it. 2:38 for 5, a ball to go in the 78th over. The new ball, of course, due at 80, and there's a nice delivery from Pereira, floating it up. That brings Curran forward, not easy for him, and a rough outside is off stump, and a bit of turn 2 off the pitch itself. So left-handers notoriously find it a little more difficult, obviously. 2:38 for 5, 2 overs to go to the new ball can be taken. Root's on 132. Curran is on 4. Thank you, Richard Gray, for your email on Sri Lankan wildlife. I was hoping someone would get in touch. Yala National Park. There you go. Well, it's beyond Gaul, isn't it? You keep going down and round a bit. It has the largest concentration of leopards in the world. We spent a wonderful couple of days on a jeep safari there and saw 4 of them. Plenty of elephants, crocodiles, there are crocodiles, deer, buffaloes, eagles, peacocks, and the bee eaters, which are amazing. Those birds, as wings, just incredible blur. I would thoroughly recommend a visit. Well, that's a very good recommendation, Richard said. I've never made it down quite as far as Yala, but I think one of our correspondents, recently retired, took a slightly circuitous route. I'm not quite sure what he told the office about being out of contact, mobile phones not working very well in Sri Lanka or something, and I think he drove from, or was driven from Gaul to Kandy for a test match, which is a long drive anyway, but he went definitely the scenic route with a couple of days in Yala taken in as well, so that was a very cunning ploy by, if he's listening, he'll know exactly who I'm referring to, a senior and revered cricket correspondent, no less, but a canny one as well. I think it took about a week to get there.
I remember when I went to India, I managed to sneak from Mumbai up to about an hour and a half drive from Jaipur to Ranthambore to see the tigers. Oh, that was magnificent.
Yeah. You saw them?
Yeah, we saw them. Yeah, we had a...
It's not guaranteed.
No, it's not. We arrived at the hotel and there was quite a lot of American tourists there, and so we haven't seen it. We've been here for 4 days, we've not seen the tigers. And I said, they'll come out for me this afternoon, don't worry. No, they didn't in the afternoon, but they did the morning after.
There's Root going down on one knee and pull sweeping, really. Ball out to deep square leg, and they'll take 1 run. I was talking about our tiger trip with Tuffers earlier. It's pretty special. Well, it's not guaranteed. You have to be a bit lucky to see them. Obviously, they shouldn't be guaranteed. I hate those sort of safaris that people go on where you just go off with your list and just tick them off as you go around. Right, there, one cheetah. Right, move on to the next one. Oh, there's a leopard. Tick. And I think you might find an elephant around the next corner. Oh, there it is.
Surprise.
It lives there and has been for the last 2 months. That's Curran letting it go outside the off stump. That's not a safari, is it?
He gets served his breakfast at 8:45. He's there again.
Good Lord, what a surprise he should be there. That's not a safari. You got to go looking. You got to have the frustration of going back empty-handed, because it just makes the reward when you see the animal so much more special. Curran comes forward.
I'll tell you what I did, Aggers, a few years ago. So I went to Rwanda for the opening of the cricket stadium, and I was very fortunate enough to be taken up to see the gorillas.
Oh wow,
which was incredible.
Yeah, that has to be on the list somehow, doesn't it?
Yeah, that was special.
They're doing well with the cricket in Rwanda. It's amazing, really. Mendes round the wicket, bowls. They're going for a quick scurried run here. I think a direct hit actually would have perhaps pushed the batsman, but I don't think would have run him out necessarily. 240 for 5. Actually, I've just managed to find, it's no good for the listener, but that was our view of tiger and one of the cubs that we saw. It's not bad, is it? Pottering across the road.
Yeah, look at that.
Yeah, amazing creatures. Anyway, the days of touring are gone. We're doing it off the telly from now on. Let us scrape the ice off my wife's car. I mean, how useful are we at not being away anymore? If the boiler breaks down, so you don't get an angry phone call. You get in there with a spanner and mend it yourself. 240 for 5, and with a bit of bounce there, Root turns it round the corner. It's amazing the things that do go wrong when you're on tour, and it's obviously your fault. Boiler, sadly, is usually top of the list. I don't know how it knows. And it's not just my boiler. It seems to be most correspondence boilers seem to blow up within a week of them leaving the country.
Yeah, I bet a few boilers have gone in the last few weeks, you know.
Yeah.
Out of rain, frost.
Route 133. And this is swept by Mendes. Down a deep back, good square leg. It's 79th over completed, so the new ball is 1 over away. 241 for 5. Route 134. Curran has 5 and is waving. You boiler service in your shed, Andy, or is it purely?
No, just a little bar heater. But that's one of the more benign conspiracy theories currently doing the rounds in the world. Cricket correspondence boilers went on tour.
Oh no, it happens all the time. You ask Adam Mountford, his is always blowing up as well, and it's always our fault.
I've just got something on Sri Lanka's performance as a bowling side against set batsmen, and we've talked about how they've almost seemed to have stopped trying to get Joe Root out in both tests, just waiting for something to happen. In tests since 2017, when batsmen have reached 50 against Sri Lanka, they average 114. Also the same against Bangladesh. They're the two worst teams at getting batsmen out once they've reached 50. By comparison, batsmen that reach 50 against India average 86. So that's just add another 36 runs after reaching 50. Sri Lanka, once batsmen get set in recent years, they've tended to let them go on. The conversion rate of 50s to 100s, 40% against Bangladesh, 37 against Sri Lanka, by far the two worst teams for that statistic. 31 against Pakistan, 26 against England, down to 20% against India, South Africa and Australia. So once you get set against Sri Lanka,
that's a really interesting stat there.
Yeah.
It makes you sort of immediately wonder why, isn't it? And is it just that Sri Lanka get fairly set with their attack? They haven't got much variety to change things once the batsman gets settled. There's Root playing into the leg side. There's no run from there. 241 for 5.
And it ties into that statistic we talked about a lot in the first test about the low dot ball percentage that Sri Lanka have as a bowling side. They just let opposition teams score singles with deep set fields.
Mbaldenya heading towards his 100, brings Root forward and fields off his own bowling. 4 for 95. He has taken 4 of the 5 wickets to fall. But, again, he's gone for around about 4 and over, which in these conditions, really, I think they'd be very disappointed with that. He goes again, bowls. Root's on the back foot now, very carefully and deliberately. He's blocking that out to cover. Well, so do they take the new ball, Michael? Do they
yes, absolutely.
Get a bit of extra bounce and grip, and
particularly the left-arm spinner. We saw what he did with the new ball in the second innings of the first test. I think it'll do plenty for him.
And he goes again, floating that up. Root nudges the ball away to mid-on's right hand for another single.
But the problem,
42 for 5.
The problem Sri Lanka has, and Chandimal, the captain, is that he has to spread the field, because he has to have it in-out field, because they do bowl some really bad balls. So he sets his boundary riders for the bad ball, and that creates big gaps for the England players to kind of rotate the stride. But let's be honest, it's only been Joe Root really that's been able to do that. You know, a bit of Joss Butler when he got in. The rest have found it very difficult. So you kind of bowl into one of the great players of spin that can just manoeuvre the gaps, and he has the boundary options to kind of match as well. So it's not easy keeping a player like Joe Root quiet. But I mean, look at this now to Sam Curran. There's so many gaps. For someone like Curran, you would expect more players in.
Absolutely. That turns sharply. And he plays that with that spin to short leg. That really spat out of the rough. I mean, it's a bit of a lottery. Difficult for the left-hander. You don't know how much it's going to spin, how much it's going to bounce. It can grub along the ground. It can shoot up. Modena again floats into that rough as a puff of dust as he comes forward. The ball runs away into the offside. They'll get 2 there. Runs down towards third man. Greetings to Fran and also to Julian Roy, who are all enjoying peppermint and licorice tea. I think all tucked up in bed and listening. I think we've agreed that's one of the... We're going to try and persuade Tuffers, I think, to get onto that herbal tea.
There's lots of nice teas. I guess there's obviously one where I used to play cricket. Don't want to give them too much promo. They do a nice brew up there. Lots of flavour. I've had licorice tea.
Yes, likely. Well, there's licorice and peppermint. I do recommend that.
Licorice. I've got one actually here. I'll tell you what's in my ingredients here. Cocoa and ginger. Got one with cocoa and ginger. Lemongrass and mint.
Ooh.
That's my other one. I've got 3 bags of different teas. Orange and yerba mate.
I'm not familiar with that.
That's what you describe as a hydrate cup of tea. It's got orange and herba mate.
Herba mate.
Yeah, it gives you energy. It's a kind of a slow releasing energy. It comes from South America.
I think we all need a bit of that.
I'll send you some for the next couple of days. I think this is going the full distance.
New ball taken, and we've got Pereira, the off spinner. But the first ball is swept hard down to deep backward square leg. There's a man there. So the new ball taken, but spinners using it. And we expected that. We expect Mbodenia to continue from the far end as well. But for Curran in particular, it's quite a bit awkward now. I'm sure that Pereira will go round the wicket at him, bowl it into that rough outside his off stump.
Simon's happy. Manchester branch of TMS. Simon's got his breakfast. He's had it. He gets it from the hotel. Looks like he's got a lot of it. He's a hungry chap.
Well, I could embarrass him and reveal that's actually his second meal of the day, because he tucked into something at about 4:30. Pereira tossing it up outside the off stump. Curran plays no shot. Alice Gray, I just want to write and briefly say thank you for keeping me company while I sit and address 70 envelopes in preparation for sending out my wedding postponement cards. Oh, Alice, that is sad. Wedding postponement cards. I mean, did such things exist a year ago? 2:45 for 5. And there's an appeal flag before wicket there as Curran comes forward. He's going to be given not out, I think. It's up to the Sri Lankans whether they want to review it or not. As usual, it was a very confident cry from Dick Weller, which usually is an indication of absolutely nothing, except Chandimal has gone for it. I don't think, well, it might be out, but I certainly wouldn't consult Dick Weller in these circumstances.
I reckon the skid and the angle might be just going down the leg side. Umpire's cool, possibly. Doesn't look like it's spun back enough to be hammering into the stumps.
Let's have a look. It is a new ball. It does straighten a bit. It looks quite high.
Now it's close to the bat.
Don't think it's hit the bat or the glove. Well, it's hit it sort of up on the
height,
up on the back thigh.
Please to confirm if there's any bet on that.
Well, we're all guessing, but it looks a little bit high. Well, I suspect, put this way, the umpire gave it out or not out because it was high. That's what I suspect what he thought.
That's the difference with the new ball. It just skids on.
Yeah.
The old ball will spin a lot, but that ball that skids back into a left-hander from around the wicket, the off-spin, is such a dangerous delivery.
Okay, guys, waiting for ultra edge.
Well, it's a nice breather for the players. It doesn't do much for the over 8, all of this. Curran's got a little towel he tucks into the waistband of his trousers once he's finished mopping his brow. The Sri Lankans are gathered. Everyone's looking towards the
still waiting for ultra edge.
The screamer still waiting, aren't we? Mr. Hannibal there.
Curran doesn't seem to be too bothered, does he? He's quite chilled.
It does take a long time. Come on, everybody. Press the buttons.
Stand by, guys. Stand by. Okay, ultra edge.
Oh, the cue for Ultra Edge. Haven't got there yet, but let alone the technology. Ultra Edge.
Edge coming up. Roll it.
Nothing there. There's a big thick spike when it hits the
Roll
pad.
it. Can I see one more time, please?
Mr. Hannibal wants another look. There's a tiny flicker.
Keep rolling.
You can't tell if that's back really. You get a long.
Flat line with the wet.
Yeah, you get a bigger spike when it's back. So, ball tracking.
Give me ball tracking when it's ready, please.
Oh, Mr. Hannibal is getting desperate, I think. Here we go. So, given not out.
Condition is not out.
Impact is in line. Wickets umpire's call, so it's not out. They won't lose their review.
It's umpire's call.
There's a bail trimmer as far as the computer is concerned, which means that Curran will survive. And Mickey's not happy again. He's got his hands on his hips. You can't see much from there, Mickey.
No, but I do think that umpire Damascene has been a little bit unkind. I mean, we talk about neutral umpires, seen as a Sri Lanka, he's just given the decision not out. He gave one to Johnny Bairstow yesterday. That would have been exactly the same. An umpire call that only, you're talking millimetres. Was hitting the stumps, but on the wrong side of the ball, so it was deemed an umpire's call.
Well, I was saying to Cookie earlier, both at home and here, I think the umpires have done such a good job, the home umpires. Why do you need all the money on international umpires being spent? You've got the backup of the review system, so I think these fellas have been terrific. This is played by Curran. The ball rolls back up the pitch. If people, I'm not sure that, well, there might have been a few cases of bias in the past, I suppose, but you couldn't possibly accuse, I don't think, if there was any suspicion of bias, well, you've got the review system to back it up. Mickey Arthur with his hands on his hips. As Curran comes forward, plays out to Moogie. Back to Alice Gray. This is really sad. 70 envelopes. Wedding postponement cards. My fiancée and I postponed our wedding for another year. Like countless other couples, I sit in my dressing gown, addressing envelope after envelope to tell our friends and family the sad news. And goes Pereira, tossing it up. Oh, Curran's come down the pitch. He's hit him hard too, and high. And off it goes towards the fort. And that's definitely 6. Well over the sight screen. Fine shot. 250 comes up. England are 130 behind. That's the first 6 of the innings. And well played indeed. But he says the cheer and familiar champ of companionship is making a bitter and sad task more bearable. The familiar presence of TMS on the radio allows me to feel considerably closer to my beloved dad, who's in his 70s at the other end of the country. I haven't been able to see him as much as I'd have liked over the last year for obvious reasons. He introduced me to cricket and TMS many years ago. Thank you for braving getting up at hideously early o'clock and broadcasting in this whole new way to bring us some semblance of normality at a time when we're all making very abnormal adjustments. Well, Alice, I'm so sorry about your wedding. There's so many people I know in the same boat, and that's just really sad. And I think we're quite enjoying getting up at 3 in the morning, aren't we?
Yes.
Getting used to it.
Yes, no problems with that. That's a great shot.
I do find a bit of brain fade. The last hour, it's just I'm getting old, I think. Yeah. But you just feel like you want to sort of reset the fuse box.
Yeah, it's more like when I get up and I'm I've got about 5 or 10 minutes before I get in my car, that I really have to question myself if I've got everything. Not too sure that I've got everything that I require for the day.
Well, I lay everything out the night before, if I'm honest.
Yeah, I have my kind of rucksack full of goodies.
Yeah.
But there's 1 or 2 things that I keep just on the side.
Here's Mbaldenia bowling what will be the last over before tea. It's driven out to cover. Big
decision that, Aggers. That umpire Damascene is given the way of the England side. Sam Curran's hanging in nicely for Joe Root. That dance down and whack for 6 is the first time of any really aggression from Sam Curran. That's his option of going downtown. He doesn't generally sweep the ball. We haven't seen him try and sweep the spinners as yet. Now this will be a challenge. Mbaldenia bowling with a new ball to him, because what it'll bring is also that ball that skids on, so it might challenge both edges of the bat, the new ball.
They've got 3 out on the leg side, so 2 for the sweep, I suppose, or sort of a long leg, a deep square leg. There's also a man at long on. He's coming over the wicket. He's going to put this into the rough outside Curran's off stump. There he goes, it's Edgerton caught. Exactly as he was saying, the one that runs on. And Michael Vaughan has absolutely predicted that. Very well done, sir. Because he just prodded forward. He would have played, I guess, for a bit of turn, a bit of bounce there. He's played just inside it. And that ball new and shiny as well. It really hasn't turned very much. It just moved on really, and it's a nice sharp catch at slip, and that's not what England wanted at tee. They're 252 for 6 now. With Sam Curran caught by Tiramani at slip off Embledenia for 13, and Embledenia has now got 5 wickets.
Yeah, tremendous bowling. It's just that shiny new ball. It just skids on, but as a play, you are expecting it to spin back as well, and certainly there will be lots of spin as well. That's why it's so much more difficult for the batters to face the spinners when the ball is rock hard, shiny, brand new. But Joe Root, he's got his helmet kind of just balancing on his head, with the grill kind of over his forehead. Looks a bit tired, but what an innings the captain's played. He single-handedly is keeping England in this test match, but he'll also know that Sri Lanka, with the way that they can bowl and the way that this new ball may operate, the likes of Bess, Jack Leach, Jimmy Anderson, Mark Wood,
2 lefties in there.
Yeah, he could see them off quickly.
Yeah,
you know, it's that kind of pitch that you could easily lose the last 4 very, very quickly if England aren't careful. And that lead, if England,
it is a problem for left-handers, Michael. And I wonder if there is a situation in India when they move on there, if there is a do we play him or him situation, whether left-handedness or right-handedness with a bat actually, if it counts for anything.
Well, absolutely. I mean, I'll go a step further than that, because I would certainly not be picking many left-handers to play against Australia. You just look at Nathan Lyon's record against left-handers to right-handers. India didn't have too many left-handers in the order, plenty of right-handers. Washington Sundar did okay in the last test on debut as a left-hander, but ultimately they had lots of right-handers, and Nathan Lyon probably had his worst series that we've seen for a long, long time. So going down the line, down to the end of the year, I'm pretty sure England's plan will be to make sure that they don't allow too many left. Got Ben Stokes, Rory Burns potentially in that top 7. I don't think I'll be having too many more than that.